Should I click remember my name for future meetings?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Emily, did you want to chair tonight's meeting?
No, go ahead, Joellen. I will take minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. We're starting the meeting at 6:31. This is the Barre City Justice Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Welcome, everybody. Let's see, do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yep, we do indeed. So adjustments to the agenda, 2 things, maybe 3 things. Hold on, let me look at my notes. I was going to take off the statement about resolutions about the war in Gaza because it's not ready yet for discussion. And you know, one of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns program that the council wanted us to participate in months back has a deadline, a soon deadline. So I wanted to, if we had time after looking at this, the rest of the agenda, to look over that and get a kind of sense about how we felt, you know, about the city applying. I mean, you know, probably it would be good that the meeting on the 21st is the next meeting for them, probably when they'll discuss it. So let's see if we can look at that and get an agreement among us that we support it. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. I wanted to, there's some new folks on the committee, and I realized that when something came up last time that we hadn't really talked about or hadn't really discussed this before, but I wanted to remind people that when we first started our committee and we were talking about how we could make decisions, because committees are allowed to decide their own process pretty much, and that's what we were told anyway at the time. So we had said to each other that we would basically decide by consensus. If there's no consensus, then we go to a straight vote. And hopefully that's something that folks remember, and not just me. Anyway,
Call from Earl Expression.
Okay, that's just going to have to ring out because it has to go into voicemail. Sorry about that. So the old business was approving the minutes for September and the 2 in October. So let's do September 1st. Not the date, but let's do that one first. Did anyone have any changes to that agenda? I did send them out a while back. Okay, so do we want to, I'll entertain a move to accept it.
So moved.
Okay, Ellen moved to accept it, and who would second that?
I'll second.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ellen. Okay, so a vote. All in favor of accepting those minutes, say aye.
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 You know, I can't really see you, and
Aye.
how about this? Anyone say nay? Raise that little yellow hand if your picture isn't there, because it's difficult. All right. And abstentions. Okay, that one passes. How about, I actually don't have the dates. The first one that we did in October was, I don't have it.
October, I think it was the 12th.
Yeah, I think you're right, the 12th, and then we did a Friday after that. So what about the one on the 12th? Can we get a motion on that one?
Motion to accept.
Yeah, motion to accept. So William did that. Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. All right, thank you, William. So what's the vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Aye.
I'm driving, so I'm sorry. I have to just say it out loud.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Opposed and abstentions. Okay, that one passes. Phew, this is getting them all done. I like this. Okay, the last one in October, that was last meeting. Were there any changes to the content? Yeah, William.
I'd like to make a change. I saw through the correspondence that when I provided the copy of the draft of the resolution, that may have been in violation of the open meeting laws. And so I would like to have that draft put as an addendum to the minutes for the meeting, along with any response that is deemed appropriate.
So let me just say that maybe I wasn't clear, but that original method of two people writing a document together and then bringing it to the committee is acceptable under open meeting. What's not acceptable is if I am asking everybody to weigh in. In other words, I couldn't put it, remember I said I was going to put it on, what is that thing, Google Docs? Well, that's what's not acceptable, because then unless the public can see it, that kind of, I don't know why, but that constitutes a quorum for some reason. So in order to do it that way, to have everybody involved, there would be one point person and everyone would have to send their comments into that one point person. And I thought it would be expedient to choose myself as the point person because, you know, I felt like it would make us progress a little bit, right? So that's where that was at. And then, I am not interested in adding it because it wasn't really, it's not really, how can I put this? It wasn't ready for public consumption, basically, because we hadn't really had a chance as a committee to discuss it. So if you want me to extend the deadline, I will do that, and we can push it off to the next meeting. But I want to remind us about something, and maybe we should talk about this here. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but it's not an agenda item, but I want to remind people that we had a long discussion, I think more than once, about how we did not want to just become an organization that put forth, you know, comments and about things that weren't really relevant or easily connected to our purview in terms of looking at our city. I'm not sure if I described that correctly, but anyway, so I just want to remind us that we really don't want to kind of make mistakes in that area. If we're going to do a few of those a year, I want them to be right. Not right like correct, but certainly correct in terms of spelling and all that kind of stuff, but also the process be done correctly, as well as the content be reviewed in a way that brings the best result. Because whatever we put forward, whether it's to the council as a resolution or to the council as a statement, I mean, you know, we have to all be able to agree. So that's what was my goal, was to figure out a way to get to agreement for the committee, and that remains my goal if we want to continue with that. So does that satisfy you, William, or how do you want to...
It sounds like I misunderstood the comments that were made.
Right, sorry, I try.
Okay.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, a second for that, please.
I'll second.
And Chris seconds. Thank you both. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand or that little yellow hand.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any abstentions or any abstentions? Any?
I actually will abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. So, did you hear that, Emily? We had Ellen abstain, okay? That's for the
Yes,
minute.
got it.
Thank you. Great, thanks, everybody. This gets us to put everything up on. Now, I want to apologize. I thought the process was that when I got the minutes or when the minutes were done, that I would immediately send it over to the city and they would put the draft minutes on the on our website, but they don't seem to be doing that. And Rick, do you know if there's a prohibition against that?
No, that's the way it's supposed to happen. So if it's not happening, then I need to talk to Roxanne and find out why not.
Okay, thank you. But anyway, these three can go on as regular. I will email them to her again, all right? And I'll email them to you again, too, in case you don't want to dig through your thousands of emails. You meaning Rick, sorry. Okay, old business, we did that. New business. Rick, can you please put up on our screen the memo to the council so we can discuss that? There we go, thank you. So, we talked about this at the last meeting and this one, and it's on for now. And so I was tasked with writing a statement to the council. So I did it in the form of a memo. I thought that would be appropriate. If you guys decide otherwise, that's fine with me, but it's more the content that I'm concerned about. Does someone else want to read? Oh, joy. William, do.
Okay. To Barre City Council from Barre City Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee regarding recommendation on use of equity impact assessment tool for flood recovery projects. It is with urgency that we recommend you address the issue of community involvement with every proposed project, whether from local, state, or federal funding. We already have a proposal brought by the state and area developers that we know did not use this approach, nor the state mandated state equity impact assessment tool, which would have informed the project about local equity issues. We believe it is incumbent upon the city to do the kind of outreach and surveying necessary for full community involvement, especially in making those affected by the flood, be they renters or owners, whole again. Whatever effort is made by the city for this first proposal will be useful in every additional plan and for all future projects with an impact on our most vulnerable families. Therefore, it is essential for the city to put the Barre City Equity Assessment Tool into effect for all development projects. To that end, the city must conduct a house-by-house survey of the affected areas to determine facts specific to each individual dwelling, facts such as the number of residents per household, income range per household, number of children and ages, housing debt load, and many other pieces of information which would be used to guide a recovery focused on fairness. While there may be sources of this data in a generalized form, in order to be used effectively, the data must be collected, analyzed, and gaps identified. In addition, citywide surveys can be conducted to help with designs and developments that will be extant for many years to come. We have an opportunity to correct the deficiencies and improve the systems by including as much community input as possible. Large, well-facilitated community meetings and online surveys conducted so far have reached less than 20% of our residents, fewer if counting attendees who are residents. We understand there will be a community coordinator focused on homelessness and housing insecurity arriving shortly. We suggest this staff person be charged with conducting surveys to gather the necessary material, including organizing volunteer canvassers. Our committee stands poised to assist in this endeavor in any way we can. Attached, please find the questions on the Berry City Equity Impact Assessment tool that would require study of the residents. Residents is spelled incorrectly.
Yeah. I caught that.
The questions in bold are required by the tool. Others are optional, but all would bring in the voices of residents.
Now, just so you know, or so you remember, last meeting we looked at that those questions. I didn't add them here. If you want to, I can send it to Rick and he can put it up. But those were the questions that we went over last time that we met. That's what I would add to this. And those were pulled out of the assessment tool specific to this kind of information. Okay, so I'll entertain discussion about this or changes or anything.
I would move to correct the misspelling.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, can you do that like now? I mean, or can I even? No, I don't think I can. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so discussion? So, Rick, let me ask you first. You and I talked about this new worker who's coming on. And I know that you had said that you put something in her job description that was about using the tool. But what do you think about having that person do the kind of surveying that needs to be done? Because I can't imagine any other, there's no other worker I can think of in the municipality who has that as a, well, not a job description, but as a skill.
Let me do this. Let me stop the share for a minute.
Okay. I'm sorry, I have someone who wants to say something. So, Jamie, you want to turn Ms. Bauer? Yeah.
Yes. Hi. I guess I'm in full support of doing the survey, but I have a question about how long it will take to do it and how that would impact, emergency measures and other measures to get people in housing, and just kind of the logistics of it.
My observation, yeah, go ahead. Thank you. My observation is that, that effort hasn't been done and there is no plan yet to do it. So that was our concern and why we want to bring this to the council on the 21st and get the ball rolling. The person who is being hired, Rick will let us know in a few minutes, right after I speak, what the timeline is for that. But currently, I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, I don't believe there's anybody on the municipal staff who's doing that kind of work, i.e. gathering that kind of information that already exists. I know it's out there, and I know there are different organizations. Now there's the organization Barry Up, is it? Did I get that right?
Yes.
There is an organization, but their task might be a little bit different. Their task involves direct response to FEMA. So I certainly don't want to overlap, but we definitely want to put it out there that this needs to be done so that we have, so far there's been some community involvement in terms of general meetings, but not that kind of specificity. Does that answer your question? Okay, and what I read in the paper, one can never tell what's going on there, but from what I understand in the paper, when Councilor Lozone asked about time frame, he was told from 3 to 6 months would be enough time to make plans. So it's definitely a short time span, and why we thought it was urgent to let the city know now. Okay, Rick, please answer.
So I'm going to put up the job description, and anything in green I think would pertain to the discussion you're currently having as a group.
Thank you.
So they're tasked with developing a comprehensive data system to help inform policymaking. Work with interested groups, stakeholders, and advocates to formulate a clear public advocacy campaign and develop consistent messaging around target populations. Needs to be met in investments to meet and need the local, state, and national funders. And then work with the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee to ensure that any action to be taken have been evaluated using the City of Barrie Equity Tool. So those were built into her job description. She is on board. She started Monday. And she is diving in. So I think what you're saying in your letter, requesting that we do more knocking on the door surveys, falls well within her job duties. And I know that that's one of the things that she's looking forward to doing, is getting out, talking to people, finding out this stuff, and then developing data sets to help steer where we go.
Rick, let me ask you something else. The city did hire a person, very part-time, I think, to actually coordinate volunteers who were doing the canvassing after the flood.
Yes.
I understand that person no longer works for the city. Is that true?
That is correct.
Because obviously that person has the skill. And I wonder if, I don't know what the person's situation is, but it might, do you think it would be possible to kind of hire that person for that particular, because she can't do this kind of thing alone. No one person can do a survey. I mean, I suppose they can, but they would take forever. So to kind of speed up the process, I would think that the person would be more involved in organizing volunteers, scheduling the volunteers to go out, collecting the data that they bring back, and then analyzing the data. Does that make sense?
It does. That individual has a full-time job. So is unable to dedicate that kind of time. However, that person is going to be working closely with Barrie Up, who is now going to be scheduling volunteers. And that group will be working with the homelessness and housing liaison. So I believe the resources are probably there, just looking at it from a different light instead of that one individual, because that individual did a great job, but he just can't dedicate that much time having a full-time job.
Understood. So how is it, can we direct, what's the relationship between Barrie Up and the council?
They're really, I mean, Barrie Up is just it's a standalone group of volunteers that are just trying to make resources available to everybody in Barrie. So they could have, there could be a small business administration person that sits in that office to meet with people, or a FEMA person, or Washington County Mental Health, or Capstone, or, I mean, their goal is to try to bring all the resources into one place so that residents can go to one place, and at least if the resource isn't there, somebody there can then get them in touch with the resources.
So do you think there's an opportunity here to have them coordinate volunteers, and then this, can you share this person's name? You know,
the housing liaison?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Tess Taylor.
Oh, sure. Okay. So Tess is skilled too, no worries. But
yeah.
Perhaps, but she's still going to need help. So is there some way, and maybe we can add it to this memo, to not instruct, but suggest that the council request Barrie Up to provide or organize volunteers to help do that, so that we can do these kinds of surveys?
I don't think it would be the council. It would be, because of the way the grant's written, the homelessness and housing liaison falls under the city manager. So the city manager could definitely pull them together and say, how do we go about doing this? How do we coordinate volunteers? What kind of survey are we doing? As well as potentially pulling in our IT person if we wanted to do an online survey.
Right. Right.
So I think the opportunity is there, and I think Nicholas has control over it.
So should we say something in our memo about that? Not in other words, not just directing them to maybe have this person focus on it. It's obviously in her job description, but specific to the flood, add a line about other organizations, or even straight up saying Barry Up.
I mean, that's up to the committee, not me.
Yes. Well, okay. What does the committee think? Anyone? Do you want to put us back into view, please? Thank you. It makes it easier for me to see the little teeny hands. Anyone want to weigh in on that? William?
Sure. I'm wondering if the job description indicates what we're asking for, that the person will be doing what we're asking for, whether the letter is even needed. And I like the letter, but then I look at the job description and it shows that the main thing that we're looking at is for them to use the equity tool, and the job description shows that the person is going to be using the equity tool. So just a thought.
Sorry, William. Thank you, William. Ellen?
I understood the letter to be much broader than that one person's job. I thought it was all about all of the proposals about redevelopment of the North End, the way those things happen, who gets consulted, all of that. It's not just this one person.
So, Ellen, are you thinking that we should maybe add something that is more inclusive of other? Because really, this woman's job is directed at homelessness and housing insecurity. Certainly, people who have experienced a flood have housing insecurity, but I don't think that's exactly what that means. I think it just means low-income folks who own their own homes. So, or low-income people who want to own a first home, something like that. So, my concern is that, I mean, my thinking is more along the lines of what you said, Ellen, and that is a little bit broader. It's definitely broader. It's about including, like it says in the beginning, including community. So while this person is it could be tasked, while Tess could be tasked to focus on this or use the information gathered by Barry Up, my concern is what kinds of questions then would be put in a survey, and who would be responsible for that, and would it answer the kind of questions we need for the developers or for the equity development?
Right. When it was read out, I thought it was quite comprehensive. And now that we understand that this factor has been brought into the conversation, it's getting very narrow. And I don't think it is narrow. The EIAT is a tool that has been formally adopted at we initiated that with the council, that it should be used pervasively in Barry when looking at policy and projects. So this is, even if this statement is somewhat redundant, redundancy is good here. We need to it needs to come out of this committee, it's great that Rick put that in the job description. That reinforces what this committee is pushing for. So I see no problem with this statement. Granted, I only heard it. I didn't get to read it because I was driving. I'm no longer driving. If we're not trying to push it out tonight, I'm happy to take a look at it and do a few edits. I noticed some consistency issues that I heard in it, that just little things that could be tweaked, but I don't know what the timeline is on it.
We're scheduled to bring this in front of the City Council on the 21st. So the kinds of changes you're talking about are not content related, are they? They're more consistent.
And I'm sorry, could we put it up one more time on the screen?
Put it up again, please.
I would appreciate that. Then I will be able to answer your question.
We'll edit it right here because it's not that long and we have a little time.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Mine were things like at one point, the way you referred to the EIAT was different in 2 different places. So it's just name stuff.
Okay.
And those are, but I wanted to look at it for what you're asking about right now. So
Got it.
I'll take a note. Let me just take a look. Yeah, this is about all development projects. Okay.
You want me to scroll down?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, the paragraph that starts with "we understand there will be a community coordinator."
Correct. Yes.
I think we can, given what Rick has just said here, I think we can change that to say, instead of "we suggest this staff person," we could say "we are encouraged because, or we understand that this staff person will be charged with conducting surveys if Rick says that that's accurate." We don't need to suggest it. We're heartened by it. We're encouraged by it. We understand that to be true. Something like that. If Rick validates that is what he that's the information he gave us. So then I think that's great. We're reinforcing that. And our committee stands poised to assist in this endeavor in any way we can. So, maybe somehow our members or we can put out a call for volunteers to help with whatever effort. I would imagine that Tess would organize a group of volunteers, train them, and get them out to start gathering this data.
Yeah.
But I do like the whole statement because it goes much bigger than just this one survey. And so equity impact assessment tool, that is the correct verbiage for this tool. And somewhere else, I think the Barre City Equity Assessment Tool, I think it's still the Equity Impact Assessment Tool.
It is, you're right. I forgot the word. I always forget that word. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of words. Equity. Oh, right. And the paragraph above, can you scroll back up a little, Rick, so I can see this one? Yeah. The first paragraph, it's not the state mandated state equity assessment tool. It is not quite right. It was created by Susanna Davis in the Department of Equity or so. It is a state thing. It's state. It's not mandated. That's all I'm saying. Is everyone does not have to use this tool. Would that it were true, but they don't.
So state mandated.
The state, it's not mandated. Yeah, the state equity impact assessment tool would do it. Would do the trick. If we just took out mandated is fine.
Good catch.
And I don't think I had trouble with anything else. Yeah, I think I'm okay with it at this point.
So with those changes, and I'll describe them again. In the first paragraph, that we know didn't, changing the state mandated state equity impact assessment tool to the state equity impact assessment tool. Correct in the third paragraph, the Barre City equity impact assessment tool. And instead of "we suggest," "we understand this staff person," will be charged. Okay. And then, of course, we already corrected residents. So with these changes, can we all vote on this memo?
Just one question
Yeah.
on since they, with the job description, they are using the Berry City Equity Impact Assessment tool. Do we want to make note that we are heartened that they are doing it, or?
What, say that again, that we are what?
I said heartened. There may be a better word to use.
I see what you're saying. Okay, we understand the staff person will be charged with. No, I personally think the next sentence says it all. We're stand poised, we're happy about this, and we also want to assist in any way we can. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that we recognize that they're doing it. They're doing things that we like here. We're pleased that they're doing it, that they are, in fact, using it.
What
here.
about
that was
we instead of we understand, we applaud the council, or we applaud, I don't know. Okay, we understand. How about just putting at the end, and are supportive? I don't know. And heartened? I don't know. Heartened seems a little emotional.
Therefore, it is essential for the city to put the Berry City Equity Impact Assessment tool into effect for all development projects. And we are pleased that they are doing so here. I don't know.
Well, they aren't doing it there. They've tasked a test.
Okay.
They put that in her job description. So if it went anywhere, it would need to go in that paragraph.
Yeah.
I actually move that we accept it as it has been amended to this point.
Okay, I can go along with that.
Okay, thanks.
I was trying to figure out a way to do it, but I can't come up with a good way.
Yeah, good.
So.
Okay, thanks, William. Any second on that?
Second. Well,
how about we pass it over to Greg, all right?
That's fine.
Good. Okay. So the motion is to accept the memo as was corrected. All those in favor, aye, or the little yellow hand, or your own hand, aye.
I'm sorry, I have one question.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt the vote. Is the motion to approve the memo as corrected and send to City Council? Was that the
Yes,
goal?
yes, thank you, Emily. Yep.
Thank you. I vote aye.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. So do you want to take some time and look at this other thing? I heard, can you put our pictures back, our view? Thank you. Just so you know, I spoke with, well, I didn't speak with Jake, Mayor Jake. Actually, this is about the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm messed up. The second thing is the report on the first Let's Talk About Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging workshop. And I know Emily was there and Ellen was there. Do you want to say anything about it?
I thought it went very well. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds during this session and how that informs the next session. But it was very well facilitated by Christy Clemens. Yeah, and I don't think we're gonna talk about content. But yeah, I thought it was really good, and maybe it felt like a fresh start for working together with people in our city. Hopefully it will become a model to do that.
Great. Emily, did you want to say anything? I guess not. Okay.
Sorry, wait, I had a technical thing. Yeah, I agree with Ellen. It was really informative event. It was well attended, and it really followed the structure that we discussed and set up. It really did a good job with that. So I'm excited to see how the rest of it unfolds.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we can look at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. So the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, again, opened up the program that our city councilors were asking about a while back. And we weren't sure at that time whether they were going to do another round, and they had decided to. So unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, the deadline is the 9th of, was today. So we quickly scrambled some emails together back and forth between the council, well, actually the mayor, Nicholas, and I think Rick was involved too, and Ellen. And so I got the questions that for the application, and I filled out what we could from our perspective, and then there were some areas, and you'll see them in green and red, where the city has to fill it in. Well, the deadline's the 9th, and I was hoping that we could squeeze it into the city council's meeting on the 7th, because they're going to have to decide. I think there's some money involved, so they're going to actually have to put it through them. So there was an email from Jake to, I forgot the man's name. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me either, Ellen.
It's Ted Brady. This is the Welcoming and Engaging Communities cohort. It's from Ted Brady from VLCT to Jake. Do you want me to say more, or do you want to go on now?
Yeah.
Yeah, say more. Ted Brady indicated that yes, they will be extending the deadline. The board was gonna act on that today, the VLCT board. So the deadline will be extended, and yeah, there just some back and forth, but it looks good about, I'm very baffled about the fee thing, because I don't remember there being a fee, but
I looked it up. I did not see a fee either. So I did ask, excuse me, I asked Jake about that. And maybe Jake was thinking about the last one, the other one.
It's possible. Anyway, there shouldn't be barriers to Berry City doing this. Ted was quite aware when I wrote him the other day that there would be latecomers, and they were probably going to move to extend it, because they want as many municipalities to participate as possible.
So Rick, could you put that up, please? I forgot what I titled it. Great. So here are the questions and the website link. The question in red, Rick can answer. The ones in green, Nicholas can answer. Obviously, the first things are, who are you, blah, 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 what's the total size? That stuff I left for them. But if you scroll down, Rick, to the green, the second green, yeah. So these are the answers that I thought that would answer from our perspective. Why does your municipality want to join the VLCT Welcoming Communities cohort? After 2.5 years developing the city's Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee, we are in need of professional assistance to achieve our goals of a more inclusive and fair community. The city has yet to evolve into instituting a line item in the budget to support the work of the committee, and other signs of historic neglect on the topic of equity reveal the barriers to progress. The cohort program will help us take the next steps toward a more welcoming community. Mind you, I think I wrote this in a half hour, the whole thing. Okay, so how do people feel about that answer? Any suggestions to change it? I can't see anybody. Okay. Next one is, what does your municipality hope to achieve by participating in the cohort? The program will put us in touch with professionals in the field who will educate municipal leaders about the value of the attention paid to the issues of equity. These officials will become more aware of and able to promote the support of efforts to address the disparities in overall well-being of city residents. Participants will be able to apply, there's a typo there, data and theory to help solve the real-life problems of our residents. The recent tragic flooding affected the dwellings of low-income families throughout the city's most vulnerable population, adding the necessity to include equity in all plans for recovery. I don't know why I put that in there.
Well, I have a comment right there.
Yeah.
I would say the recent tragic flooding affected the dwellings of low-income families disproportionately throughout the city.
Rick, could you put that word in there, please?
It did affect other dwellings, but disproportionately is the issue, and that is what equity is about, is the overrepresentation of some groups of people in poverty and climate disaster and all of that stuff. So it's an important word to put in.
Just too late for me to do spelling, so.
Yeah, me too. And you might as well fix data while you're there.
Data, take the S off data. Great.
I would suggest putting it in front of affected, but
yeah, that's fine too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Disproportionately affected. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fine either way.
No, that's an important word to put in there. You're absolutely right.
Great.
All right, you want to scroll down? I think the next one is one of theirs too. Yeah. Okay. And these are the things that, what efforts related to cultural improvement have your community already undertaken towards its being more welcoming and engaging community? Establishing a Justice, Equity, Diversion, and Inclusion Committee to advise the council. There have been several positive developments. The immersion of the Rainbow Bridge Community Center in a storefront on Main Street has brought the LGBTQ+ community into full focus. Historically poor on women's representation in the city's leadership now boasts 2 women on the city council for the first time in council's history, and in the past few election cycles, women campaigned for mayor. Recent restructuring of committees and the process to appoint members has made those positions more relevant and open to a wider range of diverse volunteers. Adaptation and implementation of the Vermont Equity Impact Assessment Tool for use by the city to examine policies and procedures and to improve plan and developments to ensure equity and inclusion. That might be planning. To improve planning. Yeah, could you change that, Rick, to planning? Thank you.
While we're in this one, yeah, I'm not sure it's fair to say it was implemented at all. We did several presentations with it. It's kind of
but I want to say that we've also trained people. So maybe that's what I meant by implementation. So what about adaptation and promotion?
Well, we are implementing it in the job description.
That's true.
Person.
Yeah, we're saying we want them to implement it in what they do. So yeah, I just don't want to oversell that, like we're so far down the road, because we're not.
True, that's true. So why don't we just change that? That's all right, because the truth is it's not being implemented yet per se, although it has been in a few instances. I think one instance in that.
Yeah, that's the word.
Oh, okay, that's great introduction. Thank you, Rick. Okay, the city received a grant for the creation of the curriculum Let's Talk About Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging with scholar and Title IX coordinator at Dartmouth University, Christy Clemens. It is designed to municipal, political, and committee members. And committee members have conversations. That's a little rough. It is designed to assist municipal, political, and committee members to conduct conversations, to have conversations. How about
to have? Yeah, that works.
Okay. About the topic in order to raise awareness and inspire action. Education is the current focus of the committee, and this project will be replicated for use with other municipal workers, city leadership, and the general public. And then Let's Talk programs beginning November 6th, 2023. I want to remind us that they're part of the funding for that, so I definitely wanted to put it in there in a very positive way.
It's Dartmouth College, not university.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Just looked it up. I knew it was, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we've scroll down, Rick, but I think that's all that we can add.
And Jamie's got a hand up.
Okay, Jamie.
Yeah, my only hand up was you're kind of underselling what Rainbow Bridge Community did. They weren't just immersed, they were leaders in the flood recovery. So that was my only.
So Rick,
my only.
The immersion of the Rainbow Bridge Community Center. Well, you can still keep that in a storefront on Main Street into full focus. How about brought them into, hold on, let me think about this.
The city didn't do that, though. Here's the thing.
But that's not what it's asking. It's asking community. What has the community already taken? I took that to be much broader than just the city.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What is immersion? EMERSION. I know the word IMMER. What is this word? I don't really understand what it means here. Is it emergence? Is that what we're trying to say?
Is okay. Yep.
Emergence. I think that might not actually.
I don't think this is the word.
What?
Oh, it looks like a good word.
Nice looking word. I just don't know. It's like
yeah.
Just looking it up. I think emergence is what we want there, maybe.
Emergence of the Rainbow Bridge Community Center in a storefront on Main Street has brought the LBGT into full leadership. Just change the focus to leadership.
Mm.
So change the word focus, Rick, to leadership, into full leadership.
It's a weird thought.
Well, just how about into leadership?
I was thinking into visibility. I mean, that's what it is. It's a storefront on Main Street. It's making the community more visible.
Okay, so community into full.
Different thoughts in this sentence that don't really pull together. We could have a phrase after this.
Yes.
Notably, due to its position on Main Street and its, gaining in visibility, it was able to take an incredible leadership during the flood.
So how
Jamie,
you could use increased visibility.
Yeah.
What emergence of the Rainbow Bridge Community Center has brought the LGBT
has increased the visibility of the LGBTQ plus community.
I write this down.
And another phrase about what happened in the flood.
Okay.
I think that's that it's more coherent that way.
Has increased.
Oh, wait a minute. After storefront on Main Street, I think.
Oh.
Is that right? The emergence of the Rainbow Bridge Community Center in a storefront on Main Street. I want to rewrite this whole sentence. Has increased the visibility
Of, yes.
Of the LGBT community, period.
This was evident. This became evident.
How about their presence? No.
I was thinking this became evident. I'm writing it down. Hold on. Evident. During the recent flood. When they took leadership in recovery efforts.
Yeah.
Did they work closely with faith-based organizations?
No, they did not.
No, they were really out on their own doing.
On their own. Yeah, they coordinated here and there with things, but no, it was really them.
Try this and then we'll look at it.
In fact, some of the faith-based organizations were in direct conflict with the goals of the RBCC, and there were pretty clear lines drawn in certain places because of some of the stuff that some of those organizations were putting out in writing during that time. So no, I would not want to put those things together.
So Rick, this became evident during the recent flooding when they took leadership in recovery efforts.
Thank you very much for including me in that.
Please. My apologies for leaving it out.
I mean, not to make this drawn out, but what really happened here is that their increased visibility, because they had a storefront, enabled them to become a hub. It was the downtown hub for people who needed goods and services, for people who needed to be matched with help, and for volunteer coordination. So if they didn't have that place and they weren't visible in that way, this never would have happened. So I think that's the point we might want to be making here.
There's an opportunity to change this because we're not the ones actually that are applying. It's going to be the city that applies. So this gets passed on to them. I don't think, I mean, it's not like this is a historical document per se. I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, but for the purposes of getting this application in, I think it's okay this way. We can continue if you want to redo the paragraph in a different way. I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, but I think that at least puts it out there that happened, and
that's great. Yes, good.
Are not as important as the fact that it did happen.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's okay. I hope that we understand that internally, that what visibility does is very important. What place does is important. What inclusion does is important. And this is one of the things that is an outcome.
Yes, I agree. And hopefully
the other piece to that is that they're instrumental now in Berry Up. I mean, Shauna's involved in that all the time. So that's another sign of inclusion, which I think is great.
Do we want to include that as a third sentence?
I'm not on the committee. I'm just a liaison.
I'm not asking you, Rick.
You could just put a comma after efforts and add a phrase. This became evident when they took leadership in the recovery efforts, and continues with their ongoing involvement in Berry Up, the community long-term flood response, or something like that.
Ongoing involvement in Berry Up.
The
oops, it's too late for me to type.
No.
And continues with their take ongoing out of before involvement. Then, if you're going to put it there.
Well, oh yeah, we'll get it. Let it type, and then we'll clean it up.
Ongoing flood
recovery effort. Yeah. Yep.
Take out what now?
Just take it out on the first ongoing out. So after there and before involvement.
I was going to say, no, leave that ongoing. The second ongoing could be long term.
Oh, good. Yes.
And then we need a comma after Berry Up. Long term, right? It's a hyphenated word.
I'm trying to do this on my laptop. I normally have a full-size keyboard, so.
There you go. And then a comma after up, and I think we're good. Oh,
I think bury up is one word.
Yeah, one word. Okay. Great. The group after the comma, space, the. Yep.
Like that?
Oh, the
No,
group
no.
coordinating. Here we go. Take out the second the after group, write the word coordinating. And I think that then we've got it. Oh,
Perfect.
coordinating the long term. There you go.
Ellen, you're really testing my typing skills tonight.
Sorry, if I could be typing, I would do it for you, but I don't have access to the stock. Yeah. All right.
So,
I think we also need to put the word the right before LGBTQQ plus.
Uh-huh. Thank you, Greg. Right. Why don't we just take a quiet moment to read that bullet to make sure there's nothing else.
check it out, folks.
Okay.
Ooh. Take the S off continues. And
no.
and-
No, you need it.
I think the S goes off, don't you?
No, it's this that you're modifying with continue, or that you're using the verb for. This became evident and continues.
Oh, I was looking at they took leadership in recovery efforts and continue. All right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I think it's this that we're still talking about. It's a little awkward as a sentence, but it'll be fine.
Parenthetical phrases, you know.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments on this content? So can I get I think we have to
thing on the very last thing. Why are we using the word beginning instead of began, since it's past the starting date? Let's Talk programs began November 6th.
Oh, right, because I wrote it before, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Oh, it's perfect. All right. So I guess what I'll ask for is a motion to pass this on to Nicholas. Because really, I think Rick, I don't know how is this going to happen? Are you guys going to bring it to council? On the 21st, we're scheduled to discuss the memo, but I didn't do anything with
the meeting. I was at the meeting last night. I believe that Jake said he was putting it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
I actually raised my hand.
Yes.
Said I chose to delay this till the 21st, but we're have talked to Ted Brady. So I think it's going to be on there, but I think we should absolutely send it to Jake and Nicholas and make it as easy as possible for them not to forget this. And yeah.
All right. So unless there's a disagreement about I don't think we need a vote for this. We're not really. I'm just passing it on to them. Yes. Yeah. So unless there's an objection to that from anyone. Okay. Cool.
I think you were just getting the input from the committee to make it a document. Yeah.
Well, so that when it came time for it to come up, we could say we discussed it and we think it's a good idea. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Yes. So how about visitors and public comment? Any of the visitors? Jamie, would you like to say anything?
Thank you for letting me be your peanut gallery.
We love it. Next time we'll send you popcorn. Okay, anyone else want to weigh in on anything tonight?
Hey, Joellen, just a real quick question. So I'm looking at the draft agenda for the 21st. Mm-hmm. And I see for new business discussion of implementation of equity impact assessment tool.
Yes.
Is that the same thing that we're talking about with this application for Epic?
No. No,
Okay, so
yep,
that's something else. So I don't see Epic on there yet. Do you want me
not
to
Epic.
put it?
Rick, it's not Epic. Epic's a state program. This is the welcoming, right? Am I right about that?
It said Epic on the postcards.
Okay, I need to look into that. But sorry, just needed to check.
Joellen, do you still have that postcard? Hang on.
I have it in my email. Hold on, let me look.
I might have it.
The place to see, we'll find it first.
I got it. Ha ha.
Right. Ideal is the state one that we're not doing. So I got nervous because I've not heard the word epic in connection with this thing. And so I was thinking we might be confusing the statewide one.
There it is.
Why does it say epic?
Maybe
Abundant Sun's Ethical Performance Improvement Campaign.
So Abundant Sun is the consultant that runs that's their program.
Okay.
The whole thing is called the VLCT Welcoming and Engaging Communities Program.
Okay. So I'm going to put, just as a placeholder, VLCT Welcoming, because I have access to the agenda.
Great.
Welcoming and Engaging Communities Program.
Perfect.
But we should definitely, Joellen, somebody should talk to Jake or Nicholas and make sure that this is the route for it to get approved, or whether
Well,
it just.
I'm putting it in under Jake as the person. So
I'll communicate with all three of you. Don't worry.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it has to go to the meeting or whether it can just be signed by them. I don't know.
I'm going to be there anyway, at least me, and maybe hopefully others from the committee to pitch the other item, which is using the tool, the equity tool.
It's on the draft agenda now, so they have to, if nothing else, they have to take it off.
At least they'll see it, right?
Right.
Ellen.
Here we go. I have a concern I wanted to air here. It's not here anymore, but Josh Howard was at our meeting. And on he has renamed himself or named himself on his little Zoom box, Zay Zem, which I take to be a belittling of people's pronouns choices. Having a very close family member who uses they, them as their chosen pronouns, and knowing many people who are all across the spectrum of gender, I was very upset to see that at an equity committee meeting. I know that this is, I have seen many things from Josh Howard, so I'm not speaking out of ignorance when I say I do not believe this person is doing that as a lifting up of non-binary and trans folks. I do believe it was making fun of it. And I'm not sure what we do. And we don't need to have a discussion here. I want to register that I saw that. And had there been transgender people here, non-binary people, maybe there are, who don't feel very comfortable in the world, that would have really hurt. So I am not sure how our committee could address such a thing, but I wanted to name it.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice it. I'm spelling it Z-A-Z-E-M. Is that what you're saying?
It was like they, them instead of they, them. It's a joke. Yeah. So I was sort of doing a mind experiment, a thought experiment, thinking, okay, if somebody had put like some kind of racist little terminology on their thing, I hope we would nip it in the bud. I hope we would say something. Any other kind of hatred. So I just want to name that. And if people didn't notice it or didn't register it, I do want people to register it.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know what to do with people who are doing that on purpose. It's not out of ignorance. And they may be wanting to get a rise. So yeah, I'm not sure, but being silent doesn't feel good either.
Emily.
To say.
Thank you, Ellen, for pointing that out. I have noticed that as well. And I was also struggling with how to address that. And I appreciate you coming forward and bringing that up. It does feel transphobic and hateful. And I don't know how to respond to that either. But I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Maybe it'll just make us be more aware in the future, and we can leave it there.
I'm also concerned about, well, you know, when we decided a while ago that we really needed to turn a lot of our attention toward education, that's kind of where I always go. So, and I mean, you know, I'm kind of an eternal optimist. I think that as long as there's life, there's hope. So I'm thinking that, what about the idea of sending an email to Josh and just, no, you know, because the other thing is, I don't want to take it up as an item, because that then perhaps pleases the person who is doing this, not just him, but anyone else who does that.
I don't think that Josh or anyone who would do something like that is our audience. I think our audience is, you know, people in the targeted communities, in the underrepresented or disenfranchised or hated groups, that we are in solidarity with those folks. And so that's why silence didn't feel good. But I am not trying to change a person who would do that knowingly. That's not going to happen. So I'm not interested, and I think an email thing will cause a fight, and it will just go on, and that doesn't also help the folks that we want to stand with.
Just give me 1 second. I want to see something. Yep. So Ellen, you're just Ellen now.
Oh.
So as a moderator, I can rename you.
Oh.
Oh.
Ah.
So I renamed you, and just so.
That sounds perfect. Just take it
out. I can also private message an individual, and I can say I'm adjusting your name because it's derogatory. And then if they change it back, then I can move them out into a waiting room. And they can sit in the waiting room.
Yep.
So as moderators, we have that ability to control the meeting.
Okay. I do think that's a good solution. Yeah, I don't want to take bait and get into some useless fight.
Nope.
Really don't. I think that's a good way to go.
That's a good way, except Rick, let me check and make sure that putting them in the waiting room isn't violating the open meeting law.
It would be violating the open meeting law. But if I'm changing his name and saying I'm modifying your name because it's derogatory for people that are included in this group, and then he changes it back, then I can pull him out of the meeting and I can have that discussion with him over chat, because the whole point of this is inclusion. It's diversity. It's recognizing that. And if he's not willing to understand that what he's doing is derogatory and negative towards people that identify different, he probably doesn't belong in this meeting.
It is akin to Zoom bombing.
Yeah.
And you can do that when someone Zoom bombs.
True. Let me check I have an actual document from the state about Zoom bombing. Let me check with that and make sure that that's a process that we could use safely.
Yep.
Okay.
And at this point, I would make a motion to adjourn and stop recording after that. Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Turn off the recording now.